The sky over New York City burned an unnatural shade of crimson as the alien warships descended through the atmosphere. Captain Sarah Chen, her face streaked with grime and sweat, peered through a cracked window of the partially collapsed skyscraper that served as her makeshift command post. The scene below was one of utter chaos. Civilians fleeing in terror, vehicles abandoned in the streets, and the continuous thunder of explosions in the distance. Status report. Chen barked into her comm unit, her voice hoarse from hours of shouting orders. "It's bad, Captain," came the reply from Lieutenant Rodriguez. "We've lost contact with the West Coast entirely. Europe's gone dark. The alien ground forces are pushing through our last line of defense in Central Park." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself a brief second of despair before snapping back to attention. "What about our air support?" A bitter laugh crackled through the comm. "What air support? The dogfights ended 2 hours ago. We've got nothing left in the sky but those damn alien ships." The building shuddered as another explosion rocked the city. Chen steadied herself against the wall, her mind racing. They had trained for invasion scenarios, war games that had once seemed like science fiction fantasies. But nothing could have prepared them for the sheer overwhelming force of the alien armada that had appeared in Earth's orbit just 72 hours ago. "Captain." A young soldier burst into the room, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "We've got a transmission coming in on the emergency frequency. It's from High Command." Chen's heart leaped. Could this be the reinforcements they so desperately needed? She rushed to the makeshift communications array, shoving aside debris to reach the console. The screen flickered to life, revealing the grim face of General Harrison. "Captain Chen." The general's voice was tight with tension. "I'm initiating Operation Phantom. Authentication code. Lazarus Rising." Chen's blood ran cold. Operation Phantom was a last resort protocol, one that she had been briefed on but never expected to hear invoked. It meant that the situation was even more dire than she had imagined. "Understood, sir," she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. "What are our orders?" "Retreat and vanish, Captain," Harrison said, his eyes conveying a weight of unspoken meaning. "Make the enemy believe you and your forces have been utterly destroyed. Then activate your deep cover protocols. You're our last hope." The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving Chen staring at a blank screen. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Listen up," she called out, her voice carrying across the room to the handful of soldiers who remained. "We've got new orders. Operation Phantom is a go." Confused murmurs rippled through the group, but Chen silenced them with a raised hand. "I know this sounds crazy, but we're going to fake our own deaths. Every last one of us. And then we're going to disappear." For the next hour, Chen's team worked with frantic efficiency. They rigged explosives throughout the building, carefully placing them to create a controlled demolition that would leave no survivors. Body doubles, unfortunate casualties they had recovered earlier, were positioned strategically, dog tags swapped to match their own identities. As Chen worked, she couldn't help but wonder about the larger plan. Operation Phantom had been shrouded in secrecy, known only to a select few. What did High Command know that they didn't? And how were they supposed to turn the tide of this seemingly unwinnable war by pretending to be dead? The alien forces were closing in, their energy weapons carving swaths of destruction through the city streets. Chen's team had mere minutes left before they would be overrun. "It's time," Chen announced, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. "Remember, from this moment on, Sarah Chen and everyone in this room are dead. Our old lives end here." She looked around at her team. Faces she had come to know and trust over years of service. Rodriguez, the wisecracking lieutenant with nerves of steel. Patel, the soft-spoken tech expert who could work miracles with damaged equipment. Zhang, the medic whose steady hands had saved countless lives. "It's been an honor serving with you," Chen said, her throat tight with emotion. Now let's give these alien bastards a show they'll never forget. With a nod to Patel, Chen triggered the detonator. The building began to shake, debris raining down as carefully placed charges went off in sequence. The team rushed to their predetermined exit routes, hidden passages and long-forgotten maintenance tunnels that would lead them deep beneath the city. As Chen prepared to enter her escape route, a deafening roar filled the air. She turned to see an alien craft, sleek and predatory, hovering just outside the crumbling window. For a heart-stopping moment, she locked eyes with the pilot, a being of otherworldly beauty and terrible menace. Then the floor gave way beneath her, and Chen plunged into darkness. She tumbled through a twisting metal chute, the sounds of the building's collapse thundering above her. After what seemed like an eternity, she landed hard on a concrete floor, the breath knocked from her lungs. As Chen gasped for air, strong hands helped her to her feet. She found herself in a dimly lit tunnel, surrounded by her team. They were battered and bruised, but alive. Did everyone make it? Chen asked, doing a quick head count. Rodriguez nodded, his usual smirk replaced by a grim determination. All present and accounted for, Captain. Though I gotta say, your landing could use some work. A weak chuckle rippled through the group, the gallows humor a thin shield against the weight of what they had just done. All right, people, Chen said, straightening up despite the pain in her ribs. Phase 1 is complete. As far as the world is concerned, we died in that building. Now comes the hard part. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, innocuous-looking device, a quantum-encrypted communicator that would connect them to the next phase of Operation Phantom. We're about to go deeper underground than any of us have ever been, Chen continued. We're going to disappear so completely that even our own people won't be able to find us. And from there, we're going to find a way to take our planet back. As if on cue, the communicator came to life, projecting a holographic map of a vast underground network spreading out beneath their feet. Tunnels and caverns, some natural and others clearly artificial, formed a hidden world right under the aliens' noses. My God, Patel whispered, his eyes wide as he studied the map. How long has this been here? That's need to know, Chen replied, though the question echoed in her own mind. And right now, all we need to know is our next destination. A pulsing light on the map indicated their target, a location simply labeled Haven. It was deeper and further than Chen could have imagined, a journey that would take them beneath the very roots of the mountains. Gear up and stay alert, Chen ordered, leading her team deeper into the tunnel. Just because we're presumed dead doesn't mean we're safe. This is still a war, and we're now the ghosts that will haunt our enemy's victory. As they moved through the shadowy underworld, leaving behind the ruins of their old lives, Chen felt a mix of emotions churning within her. Fear of the unknown path ahead, grief for the world they had lost. But beneath it all, a spark of hope flickered to life. They had survived the initial onslaught. They had successfully deceived the enemy. And now, armed with nothing but their skills, their loyalty to each other, and the cryptic promise of Operation Phantom, they were taking the first steps on a journey that would either save their world or end in true oblivion. The deceptive defeat was complete. The real war was about to begin. The deep rumble of the Earth's crust shifting surrounded Captain Sarah Chen and her team as they made their way through the winding underground tunnels. They had been traveling for what felt like days, guided only by the quantum-encrypted communicator and their unwavering determination. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. I think we're approaching something big. Chen held up a hand, signaling the team to halt. Ahead, the narrow passage they had been following opened up into a vast cavern. As they cautiously entered, lights flickered to life, revealing a sight that took their breath away. Before them stood a hidden city, a marvel of engineering and human ingenuity. Massive structures were carved directly into the rock walls, their surfaces gleaming with a bioluminescent coating. At the center of the cavern, a pillar of blue-white light pulsed rhythmically, a geothermal tap channeling the Earth's heat into usable energy. "Welcome to Haven," a voice called out, startling the team. A figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, lean woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. "I'm Dr. Evelyn Frost, Chief Scientist of Operation Phantom. We've been expecting you." Chen stepped forward, her posture rigid with a mix of awe and suspicion. "Captain Sarah Chen, ma'am. I think you owe us some explanations." Dr. Frost nodded, her expression grave. "Indeed, I do. Follow me." As they walked through the underground city, Frost began to explain. Operation Phantom was conceived decades ago, a contingency plan for a worst-case scenario: the fall of Earth to an overwhelming extraterrestrial force. "You knew this was coming," Patel interjected, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Not specifically," Frost replied, "but we knew it was a possibility. This facility and others like it around the world were built in secret, preparing for a day we hoped would never come." They entered a large chamber filled with banks of advanced computers and holographic displays. At the center stood a device unlike anything Chen had ever seen, a swirling vortex of light and data contained within a crystalline structure. "This," Frost said, her voice filled with pride, "is the heart of our operation. We call it the Nexus. It's a quantum AI system that allows us to infiltrate and manipulate alien communication networks without detection." Chen's mind raced with the implications. "You're telling me we can spy on the aliens. Why wasn't this used before the invasion?" Frost's expression darkened. The Nexus only became fully operational in the final hours before the attack. By then, it was too late to prevent the invasion. But now, it gives us a fighting chance. Over the next few hours, Chen and her team were briefed on their new reality. They learned of other hidden bases around the world, of sleeper agents embedded in alien-controlled territories, and of a plan so audacious it bordered on insanity. "Our goal," Frost explained, "is not just to resist. It's to understand our enemy, to find their weaknesses, and to turn their own strengths against them." As the team was shown to their quarters, surprisingly comfortable living spaces carved into the rock, Chen found herself grappling with a mix of emotions: hope that they might actually have a chance to reclaim their world, anger at the secrecy that had kept them in the dark, and a gnawing fear that even this incredible preparation might not be enough. The next few weeks were a blur of training and adaptation. Chen and her team learned to operate the advanced systems of Haven, to interpret the vast streams of data flowing through the Nexus, and to move unseen through the digital realm of the alien networks. It was during one of these digital reconnaissance missions that Chen made a startling discovery. She had been tracing the communication patterns of high-ranking alien officials when she noticed an anomaly: regular shipments of an unidentified substance being transported from Earth to the alien mothership. "Dr. Frost," Chen called out, her eyes never leaving the holographic display. "I think I found something." Frost hurried over, her brow furrowed in concentration as she examined the data. "This is unexpected. The aliens are harvesting something from Earth, something they seem to value highly." Further investigation revealed a shocking truth. The aliens were addicted to a rare mineral found deep within the Earth's crust, a substance that enhanced their natural abilities, but also left them dependent on regular doses. "This changes everything," Frost muttered, her mind clearly racing with new possibilities. "If we can disrupt their supply." But Chen was already thinking beyond mere disruption. "What if we could synthesize this mineral?" she asked. "Create our own version, one we could control." Frost's eyes lit up with understanding. "A Trojan horse," she whispered. "Brilliant, Captain. Risky, but brilliant." The next days were a flurry of activity as Haven's scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the alien mineral and develop a synthetic version. Chen and her team continued their digital ghost operations, gathering crucial intelligence on alien movements and weaknesses. It was during one of these operations that disaster nearly struck. Zhang, monitoring a particularly sensitive alien communication channel, suddenly let out a cry of alarm. "Captain, they've detected an anomaly in the network. They're initiating some kind of trace program." Chen's hands flew over the controls, her mind racing to stay ahead of the alien countermeasures. "Patel, initiate protocol shadowdance. Rodriguez, prepare for emergency disconnect." For tense minutes, it seemed as if they might lose everything they had worked for. Chen's team fought a digital battle against an unseen enemy, their very existence hanging in the balance. Just when it seemed they would be discovered, a stroke of inspiration hit Chen. "Frost," she called out. "The mineral addiction. Can we use it to create a distraction in their systems?" Understanding dawned on the scientist's face. With a few quick commands, she introduced a burst of data mimicking a massive mineral deposit detection. The effect was instantaneous. The alien systems redirected their focus, giving Chen's team the opening they needed to vanish back into the digital shadows. As the adrenaline of the close call faded, Chen gathered her team for a debrief. "Good work, everyone," she said, her voice tight with the lingering tension. "But this was too close. We need to be more careful, more invisible." Rodriguez, usually quick with a joke, was uncharacteristically serious. "How long can we keep this up, Captain? Playing ghost in their machines, always one step away from discovery." Chen met his gaze, seeing the same question reflected in the eyes of her entire team. "As long as we have to," she replied firmly. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for a chance to take back our world." As if to punctuate her words, an alert chimed from the Nexus. New data was pouring in. Troop movements, supply lines, command structures. The ghosts in the machine had found a wealth of information that could turn the tide of the war. Chen turned back to the holographic displays, her resolve strengthened. They were no longer merely survivors hiding in the shadows. They were becoming something more, the unseen hand that would unravel the alien invasion from within. As Haven hummed with renewed purpose around them, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The aliens thought they had conquered Earth, but they had no idea that their greatest threat lurked just beneath their feet, in the very networks they relied upon. The ghosts were rising, and the true battle was about to begin. Captain Sarah Chen stood before a full-length mirror, barely recognizing the figure staring back at her. Her once olive skin now had a sickly blue tinge, her eyes unnaturally large and dark. Ridges of cartilage protruded from her forehead and cheekbones, giving her face an alien cast. She flexed her elongated fingers, wincing at the lingering pain from the surgical alterations. "How do you feel, Captain?" Dr. Frost's voice came from behind her, a mix of concern and scientific curiosity. Chen turned, taking in the similar transformations of her team. Rodriguez, Patel, and Zhang looked as alien as she felt. "Like I'm wearing someone else's skin," she replied, her voice raspy from the vocal cord modifications. "But it'll do the job." The plan they had concocted was audacious to the point of insanity. With their synthesized version of the alien mineral perfected, they were going to infiltrate the invaders' ranks directly. The surgical alterations would allow them to pass as a subjugated species serving the alien overlords, a race of servants the humans had dubbed the Greys for their ashen skin tone. "Remember," Frost cautioned, "the synthetic mineral will mask your human DNA and enhance your physical abilities to match the Greys, but it's not perfect. Avoid deep scans and be prepared to take regular doses to maintain the disguise." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of the mission settle on her shoulders. "And the neural implants?" "Fully functional," Patel chimed in, his new features contorting into what might have been a smile. "They'll allow us to understand and speak the alien languages, as well as interface with their technology. We're as ready as we'll ever be." The team made their way to Haven's hangar, where a salvaged and modified alien shuttle awaited them. As they prepared to board, Chen turned to address her squad one last time as humans. "What we're about to do goes beyond anything we've ever trained for," she said, her altered voice adding gravity to her words. "We're not just risking our lives, but our very identities. Stay focused on the mission, watch each other's backs, and remember who you are beneath this disguise." With final nods of determination, they boarded the shuttle. The hangar doors above them ground open, revealing a dizzying shaft stretching up to the surface. As the shuttle ascended, Shen felt a moment of vertigo, not just from the rapid rise, but from the enormity of what they were attempting. Their emergence onto the Earth's surface was like stepping onto an alien world. The familiar skyline of what had once been Boston was now dominated by towering alien structures, their crystalline forms pulsing with otherworldly energy. Ships of various sizes darted through the air, while ground vehicles unlike anything human-made crawled along restructured streets. "Incoming transmission," John reported, his fingers dancing over the shuttle's controls. "They're demanding identification and purpose." Chen took a deep breath, activating her neural implant. When she spoke, it was in the clicking, multi-toned language of the invaders. "Transport 7 Gamma 42, delivering new worker units for central processing." There was a tense moment of silence before a response came. "Proceed to Docking Bay 15C for inspection and assignment." As they navigated through the transformed city, Shen marveled at the efficiency of the alien occupation. In mere months, they had reshaped human civilization into something unrecognizable. The streets below were filled with a mix of alien overseers, gray servants, and human laborers, the latter moving with the shuffling gait of a broken people. The docking procedure went smoother than Chen had dared hope. Their forged credentials held up under scrutiny, and soon they found themselves being processed into the alien workforce. It was a surreal experience, standing in line with actual Greys, mimicking their subservient postures and deferential manner. As they were assigned to various tasks within the alien complex, Shen felt a mix of triumph and trepidation. They had made it past the first hurdle, but the real challenge was just beginning. Over the next weeks, Chen and her team worked tirelessly to integrate themselves into the alien hierarchy. They scrubbed data cores, maintained equipment, and ferried messages between officials, all the while gathering crucial intelligence and planting seeds of their synthetic mineral throughout the alien supply chain. It was during one of these routine tasks that Chen had her first real test. She was delivering reports to a high-ranking alien official when she felt the telltale tingle that signaled her disguise was weakening. The synthetic mineral was wearing off faster than anticipated. As she handed over the reports, the official, a towering being with iridescent scales and too many eyes, fixed her with a penetrating stare. "You seem different," it said, its translator rendering the words into a hissing approximation of English. Chen felt her heart race but kept her expression neutral. "This one is newly assigned," she replied, using the self-effacing manner of the Greys. "Perhaps unfamiliarity causes misperception." The official's many eyes blinked in rapid succession. For a terrifying moment, Chen was certain she had been discovered. Then, to her immense relief, it waved her away. "Return to your duties," it commanded. As soon as she was out of sight, Chen ducked into a maintenance corridor and fumbled for her dose of the synthetic mineral. As the disguise reasserted itself, she tapped her concealed communicator. "All units be advised," she whispered. "Dosage intervals need to be shortened. We're walking a thinner line than we thought." Despite the close call, their mission progressed. Slowly but surely, they climbed the ranks of the Grey servants, gaining access to more sensitive areas and information. But with each step forward, the strain began to show. Patel was the first to vocalize what they were all feeling. During a rare moment alone, he turned to Chen, his artificial eyes filled with a very human anguish. "Captain," he said softly, I'm starting to forget what I really look like. What if we lose ourselves in this charade?" Chen placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, the gesture alien with her elongated fingers. "We hold on to each other," she said firmly. "We remember our purpose. The mission is everything, but we are still human beneath it all." As if the universe itself was testing their resolve, an alarm suddenly blared through the complex. "Intruder alert," an automated voice announced. Unregistered life form detected in Sector 7. Chen's blood ran cold. Sector 7 was where Rodriguez had been assigned for the day. Had his cover been blown? Without hesitation, she began moving towards the sector, using her newly gained authority to bypass security checkpoints. As she approached, she heard the sounds of a scuffle, followed by a very human grunt of pain. Rounding a corner, she saw Rodriguez pinned to the ground by two alien guards, his disguise flickering as the last of his synthetic mineral wore off. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Chen knew she faced an impossible choice. To maintain their cover and the integrity of the mission, she should turn away, disavow any knowledge of this intruder. But to do so would mean abandoning one of her own, betraying the very humanity they were fighting to preserve. As alarms continued to blare and more guards approached, Captain Sarah Chen steeled herself for a decision that would alter the course of their mission and perhaps the fate of humanity itself. The Trojan Gambit had brought them deeper into enemy territory than they had ever dreamed possible. But now, on the knife's edge between discovery and infiltration, Chen realized that the true battle was not just against the aliens, but against the loss of their own humanity in the process. The moment of decision stretched like an eternity for Captain Sarah Chen. Rodriguez's human features flickered beneath his failing disguise, his eyes pleading for help. In that split second, Chen made her choice, one that would reshape their entire mission. "Stand down," she barked at the alien guards, summoning every ounce of authority her false position afforded her. "This is a coded infiltrator, part of a new security protocol. Your interference is compromising a top-level operation." The guards hesitated, their mandibles clicking in confusion. Chen pressed her advantage, tapping rapidly on her alien datapad to create a false security clearance. "This incident will be reported to the Overseer. Release him immediately and return to your posts." Whether it was the forged credentials or the sheer audacity of her lie, the guards relented. As soon as they were out of sight, Chen rushed to Rodriguez, pressing a vial of the synthetic mineral into his hand. "Take it, quickly," she hissed. As Rodriguez's disguise reasserted itself, Chen's mind raced. Their cover was intact, but only just. This close call had made one thing clear: they needed to accelerate their plans. Over the next few days, Chen and her team began to take greater risks. They started whispering to the human laborers, planting seeds of hope and resistance. To their surprise, they found allies among the lower castes of the alien society as well, beings treated as little more than slaves by their own kind. "There's discontent everywhere," Paddle reported during one of their clandestine meetings. "The overseers rule through fear, but that fear is creating a powder keg of resentment." Chen nodded, her alien features set in grim determination. "Then we light the fuse. It's time to distribute our special mineral supply." The plan was daring in its simplicity. They had been slowly introducing their synthetic version of the aliens' addictive mineral into the supply chain. Now they would flood the market with it. This version, while mimicking the effects of the original, contained a slow-acting compound that would gradually weaken the aliens' natural abilities. As the tainted mineral spread through the alien ranks, subtle changes began to manifest. Overseers found their enhanced strength waning. Telepathic communications became unreliable. The once ironclad hierarchy started to show cracks. Chen watched from her position in the alien command center as reports of malfunctions and inexplicable failures poured in. The seeds of chaos they had planted were beginning to sprout, but their actions didn't go unnoticed. The highest echelons of alien leadership grew paranoid, sensing a threat but unable to pinpoint its source. They began to turn on their own, suspecting traitors in their midst. During one particularly tense meeting, Chen witnessed an overseer accuse his subordinate of sabotage. The resulting psychic battle left both aliens incapacitated and the room in shambles. As she helped clear the debris, Chen caught the eye of a gray servant across the room. The look they exchanged spoke volumes, a silent acknowledgement of the changing tide. That night, as Chen administered her daily dose of the synthetic mineral, She found herself staring at her reflection again. The alien visage looking back at her felt less like a disguise and more like a transformation. She wondered, not for the first time, how much of herself would be left when this was all over. Her brooding was interrupted by an urgent communication from Zhang. "Captain, you need to see this." His voice crackled through the secure channel. Chen made her way to their hidden command post, a repurposed maintenance room deep in the bowels of the alien complex. There, displayed on a cobbled-together array of alien and human tech, was a sight that took her breath away. All across the globe, pockets of resistance were flaring to life. In the ruins of Tokyo, human survivors were overpowering weakened alien patrols. In the Amazon, a mixed group of humans and lower-caste aliens were sabotaging a mineral extraction facility. And in the skies over what used to be London, hijacked alien crafts engaged in dogfights with loyalist forces. "It's happening." Rodriguez breathed, his eyes wide with a mix of shock and hope. "We actually did it." But Chen's tactical mind was already racing ahead. "This is just the beginning," she cautioned. "The overseers still have superior technology and numbers. We need to press our advantage before they can regroup." As if in response to her words, the room suddenly plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. "We've been discovered," Paddle said, his fingers flying over the controls. "They're initiating a total lockdown of the facility." Chen's mind raced through their options. Their disguises would soon fail without access to their synthetic mineral supply. The uprising they had sparked was still in its infancy, too fragmented to mount a coordinated defense. They were trapped in the heart of enemy territory, with the noose tightening around them. But as she looked at her team, human eyes shining with determination behind alien facades, Chen felt a surge of fierce pride. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to give up now. "All right, listen up," she said, her voice steady despite the dire circumstances. "We're blown, but that doesn't mean we're beaten. This facility is the linchpin of their entire Earth operation. If we can take control of it, we can turn their own weapons against them." "A direct assault?" Rodriguez asked, already checking his stolen alien weapon. "That's suicide, Captain." Chen allowed herself a grim smile. "Not an assault. An uprising. We've spent months infiltrating every level of this place. We know the access codes, the weaknesses in their security. And most importantly, we know who among them is ready to turn." Understanding dawned on her team's faces. They had been so focused on sparking rebellion among the humans that they had almost overlooked the potential allies right under their noses. "Patel, I need you to get a message to every gray in this facility. Tell them the hour of liberation is at hand. Zhang, access the armory systems. Distribute weapons to any slave caste willing to fight. Rodriguez, you're with me. We're going straight for the central control room." As her team rushed to carry out her orders, Chen felt a moment of vertigo. They were about to shed months of careful disguise and subtle manipulation for open warfare. There would be no going back after this. She reached for her communicator one last time, inputting the emergency frequency that linked them to Haven. "Dr. Frost, this is Chen. We're initiating Operation Avalanche. Stand by for potential surface evacuation, and be ready to deploy everything we've got." "Understood, Captain." Frost's voice came back, tense but determined. "The hopes of humanity go with you." Chen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of that responsibility settle on her shoulders. As alarms blared and the sound of approaching guards echoed down the corridor, she turned to Rodriguez, ready to be human again. He nodded, a fierce grin spreading across his alien features. "Born ready, Captain." With that, they stepped out into the chaos-filled corridors, shedding their gray disguises like a chrysalis. The seeds of rebellion they had so carefully planted were about to bloom into a full-fledged revolution. As the first shots were fired and former slaves rose up against their masters, Captain Sarah Chen led the charge, her battle cry a declaration of humanity's indomitable spirit. The final battle for Earth had begun. The alien facility erupted into chaos as Captain Sarah Chen and her team launched their desperate gambit. Alarms blared, emergency lights flashed, and the sounds of battle echoed through every corridor. What had begun as a covert operation had exploded into open warfare. Chen and Rodriguez fought their way through the twisting hallways, their movements a strange blend of human combat training and alien physiology. Behind them, a growing tide of rebelling Greys and lower-caste aliens followed, armed with weapons hastily distributed from sabotage armories. "Central control is just ahead," Chen shouted over the din, her voice still carrying the multi-toned resonance of her fading disguise. "Once we secure it, we can." Her words were cut short as a massive explosion rocked the facility. The wall to their left disintegrated, revealing the night sky and the silhouettes of approaching aircraft. "Reinforcements?" Rodriguez asked, hope coloring his voice. Chen's eyes widened as she recognized the craft. "Better. It's Haven." Dr. Frost's voice crackled over their comm units. "Cavalry's here, Captain. We're deploying ground teams and initiating Operation Sunburst." As if on cue, brilliant flashes of light erupted across the sky. The EMP weapons developed in Haven's underground labs detonated, temporarily disabling the aliens' more advanced technology. In that moment of confusion, human resistance fighters poured into the breach, led by familiar faces from Chen's old military life. "Looks like the ghost story of your survival spread," Rodriguez grinned, watching as human and alien rebels joined forces. Chen allowed herself a moment of pride before refocusing on the mission. "We need to reach central control before they can reboot their systems. Come on." They pressed forward, the battle around them intensifying. In the sky above, hijacked alien crafts engaged in dogfights with loyalist forces, streaks of energy weapons illuminating the night. On the ground, the scene was no less chaotic. Humans fought alongside rebelling aliens, their combined forces slowly pushing back the Overseer's troops. As they neared central control, Chen's team encountered fiercer resistance. The elite alien guards, unaffected by the EMP and the tainted mineral, formed a near-impenetrable blockade. "We can't break through," Paddle shouted, taking cover as energy blasts scorched the wall behind him. Chen's mind raced, analyzing the situation. Then she saw it, a maintenance shaft running above the corridor. "Up there," she pointed. "Zhang, can you get us in?" Zhang nodded, his fingers already interfacing with a nearby access panel. Moments later, the shaft entrance slid open. The team clambered in just as another wave of enemy fire swept the hallway. They crawled through the claustrophobic space, the sounds of battle muffled but omnipresent. Chen's heart pounded, not just from exertion, but from the knowledge that everything hinged on the next few minutes. Finally, they reached an exit point directly above central control. Chen peered through the grate, taking in the scene below. Alien leaders frantically worked to restore their systems, their usual composure shattered by the unexpected assault. "On my mark," Chen whispered, readying a stun grenade. 3, 2, 1, mark. The team burst through the grate, the grenade detonating in a flash of light and sound. They landed amidst the stunned aliens, weapons at the ready. "Step away from the consoles," Chen commanded, her voice ringing with authority. "This facility is now under human control." For a tense moment, it seemed the alien leaders might resist. Then, seeing the determination in the eyes of Chen's team and hearing the approaching sounds of the rebel army, they surrendered. Chen rushed to the main control interface, her genetically altered hands flying over the alien technology. "Paidel, Zhang, help me lock this down. Rodriguez, secure the prisoners." As they worked to seize control of the facility's systems, the full scope of their victory began to dawn on them. This wasn't just a single building. It was the nerve center for the entire Earth-based alien operation. "Captain," Patel called out, his voice filled with awe. "I'm accessing their global network. We can broadcast to every alien outpost on the planet." Chen nodded, a plan already forming. "Do it." and patch me through to Dr. Frost." As Frost's face appeared on a holographic display, Chen outlined her idea. "We have control of their communication systems. If we can replicate the signal from their homeworld, we might be able to issue a general retreat order." Frost's eyes widened. "Audacious, Captain. But it just might work. I'm sending you the signal codes we've decrypted. Good luck." The next hours were a blur of frantic activity. Chen and her team worked tirelessly, crafting a message that would convince the alien forces that Earth was no longer a viable conquest. They wove in truths about the mineral addiction, exaggerated the spread of the human rebellion, and hinted at catastrophic failures in their technology. As dawn broke, Chen took a deep breath and activated the broadcast. The message went out, propagating through the alien network, reaching every ship and outpost on and around Earth. The effect was almost immediate. Across the globe, alien forces began to disengage. Ships rose from occupied cities, retreating to the massive fleet in orbit. The few overseers who resisted found themselves overwhelmed by combined human and rebel alien forces. From the control room, Chen watched in amazement as the occupying army that had seemed invincible mere days ago crumbled before her eyes. But she knew the battle wasn't over yet. "They'll realize it's a trick soon enough," she said to her team. "We need to press our advantage while we can." The next phase of the plan was even more daring. Using the facility's advanced technology, they established communication with the alien homeworld. Chen, drawing on every ounce of her diplomatic training and the knowledge gleaned from months of infiltration, began negotiations. She spoke of the shared addiction that had driven the invasion, offered Earth's help in finding a cure, and proposed a peace that would benefit both worlds. It was a gamble, appealing to an alien mindset they still didn't fully understand. Hours passed in tense discussion. Outside, the alien fleet hung in orbit, caught between retreat and renewed attack. On the surface, humans emerged from hiding, daring to hope that the nightmare of occupation might truly be ending. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, an agreement was reached. The alien forces would withdraw in exchange for a controlled supply of the mineral and collaborative research into breaking the addiction. Earth would remain sovereign, but open diplomatic channels for peaceful exchange of knowledge and resources. As the terms were finalized, Chen slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally overtaking her. She looked at her team, human eyes shining with triumph from behind their fading alien disguises, and felt a profound mix of emotions. "We did it," Rodriguez said softly, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile peace they had just brokered. Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "We did, but our work is far from over." She stood, facing the holographic display that showed the retreating alien ships. The dawn of a new era was breaking, one that would require all of humanity's resilience, wisdom, and compassion to navigate. "Today, we reclaimed our world," Chen said, her voice carrying the weight of all they had endured and all that was yet to come. "Tomorrow, we learn to share it with the stars." As the first rays of sunlight pierced the clouds, bathing the battered but unbroken Earth in a golden glow, Captain Sarah Chen and her team stepped out to face a future none of them could have imagined. The world had changed, and they had changed with it. But in that moment of victory, one thing remained certain. Humanity's indomitable spirit had prevailed against the greatest challenge it had ever faced. The age of isolation was over. Earth's chapter in the cosmic story was just beginning.